What's going on, guys, and welcome back to Drop Top Performance. In today's video we're going to be doing something that I've been wanting to do for a really long time, and to be honest with you, I meant to put this video out probably 3 or 4 months ago, but just everything with work, the big move, the newborn, everything is kind of just taken over, and I completely forgot about this video until Chris reminded me the other night. Now, if you guys have been following my channel for a while, I do a lot of Dodge tuning stuff, and then pretty much the last couple months has been really saturated with the Trans Am build. Now, keep in mind, the Trans Am and I were separated for like 3 years because I was over in Germany. Now I'm back, so I'm just throwing everything at it. But I'm starting to get everything kind of leveled out to where I can start balancing everything between the Trans Am, the new truck, the Charger, which is what this is all about today, and Dodge tuning stuff, and then in the next couple months when the Skyline comes back from overseas, so that's going to get some love as well. And I've been doing a lot of racing, so what are you going to do? But I'm back with some tuning stuff, and in today's video it's going to be something pretty awesome. I want to compare the stock ECU to a Diablo tune, a 93 octane tune that you would get directly from Diablo. I have pulled that file, and then I'm also going to compare that to a tune that's on my car for cold air intake, exhaust, kind of a few bolt-ons, and then see what's the difference. Now, before we get started, I kind of want to talk a little bit about why I think it's very important to get a full custom tune specifically for your vehicle. And one of the biggest reasons is just environments. Everything changes. It doesn't matter if it's air density, altitude, all of it has a factor in the way that your engine runs and how it performs. So someone like myself may have a pretty, mild tune for sea level here in Florida, but if I were to take my car up to, let's say, Dave's house in Colorado, if you haven't checked him, his Das Lamas YouTube channel, he's got a pretty rowdy four-wheel drive, or all-wheel drive, like 650 wheel horsepower Charger. It's pretty rowdy. And mind you, he's at I don't know what the altitude is up there, but it's pretty daggum high, where that car is performing well. But if you brought him down here to sea level, that car would probably make another 70, 80 wheel horsepower and run a whole lot better. And run a lot quicker too in the quarter mile. So keep that in mind, guys. Environment is a huge factor. Heat, air density, altitude, how much air, how much dust is in the air. These are all things that you had to account for when tuning a car. And that's why a custom tune is so important, because it's going to take the elements around you and you're going to adjust for those particular, environmental hazards, or whatever you would call them. I'm trying to think of the word. I'll put the word somewhere on the screen somewhere. But that's the difference between a custom tune and a, let's say, Diablo 93 octane tune. Now, what you're going to see here is I'm going to compare everything so that you see what they do, what tables they mess with, how much timing, how much fuel, or how little fuel that they add, which is fine, depending on where you are. And their job is to create a product that can work pretty much worldwide. And that's impressive. It really is. I wouldn't do it, but I'm not doing it. So what does it matter? Now I'll do some email tuning or whatever, but I'm not going to give some guy, I'm not going to tune Dave's car from Florida while he's in Colorado and I'm not aware of any of the elements there. I'm not used to tuning up there. So little things are going to be different like that. Now he could send me a data log and I can kind of base everything off that. But where the tuning location is could be 2,000 feet lower than where he lives, and it's going to run a little bit different. So there's just certain things that kind of come into play with all that. Like I said, the environmental aspect of it is pretty important. But what Diablo does is they do something pretty unique where they make it safe, but it's not fine-tuned for your specific area. And this is where a custom tune is always better. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and start screen recording. So I'll go ahead and pull everything up for you guys. Disclaimer time. I am not a professional tuner. Please take everything with a grain of salt. Now let's learn together and grow as a community. So you should see me in the little corner now, one of these corners, and then you're watching exactly what I'm looking at here. So this is this is perfect. So this is going to be the tune that's on my car now. But what I want to do is I want to close this and I want to pull a file of a stock Dodge Charger. This is a 2012 Dodge Charger, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to this compare file. I'm going to open a compare file. I'm going to go to Dodge Tunes up here and look at Diablo tune. Now, I have 3 different ones, as you can see here. I have Steve Metter's, which is one that was updated in like late 2016, and then Chris's, whose was updated like 2020. Pretty much what it is, this is an older update, this is a newer update. Now, I was comparing these earlier, and I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of surprised to see what I saw. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click on Steve's first and compare it. Now, nothing's gonna be changed in the general, just because this is, you know, it's general stuff. It's a 5.7 liter V8 inside displacement, you know, all this good stuff. Idle is probably not gonna get changed. You really shouldn't have to change anything, it's not cammed. And then speed density, nothing's going to be changed because this is all based off of artificial neural network. Charge motion, device, variable cam, nothing's going to be changed because cam's still the same. This is that neural network I was telling you guys about. And then exhaust, nothing's going to be in here. The big stuff's going to be the fuel and spark, or so you would think. Now, fuel is always important. You always want to fine tune it. Now, with artificial neural network, it does a pretty good job. And since this isn't any, you know, huge changes to the tune, you really don't need to run off of volumetric efficiency, which was the VE tables that I was telling you about over here. Let me go back to that. Speed density. These are the VE tables, and you can pretty much tell that they're stock. These are how bad they are from the factory, which they don't really use them because, like I said, it's artificial neural network RAM, which, you know, is an artificial intelligence pretty much. So power enrichment, nothing's changed with power enrichment with this tune, which is very strange to me. They don't add anything. I put a little bit of fuel or I lean it out depending on what the car wants. Temperature controls are all the same. Defco is pretty much the same, but the RP limits is the RPM limits is going to be your max RPM. So the cutoff for this tune is 6,000 RPM. Now, what you're looking at now is the stock configuration, the stock tune. Now, if I click this over here, it'll show you the Diablo 93 tune from 2016. It's raised all the way to 6,600 RPM, which is more than you'll probably use, because you got to go into the transmission and adjust and all that. So as you can see, this is what the OEM stock tune is. You're limited to about 5,000 RPM and drive, and then 6,600 in the Diablo, which is good. That's not a bad thing. This is something that I go in here and do as well, except for I'll come in here and change it in park and neutral so that you can rev the vehicle higher than 3,800 RPM. Lean, all this is MBS. This is a big thing, is everybody wants it tuned for, you know, their MBS is disabled. So in the stock ECU, it's enabled, obviously, and then in the Diablo, it is disabled. Transit stuff, nothing's been touched. Spark has been touched. This is something that was kind of unique to me because usually you kind of want to see what the car likes before you just start throwing timing at it. And obviously Diablo Sport has done enough R&D to kind of already know what these cars want, so they throw quite a bit of timing at it. I mean, if we overlay this graph, and what I'm going to do here is open this up a little bit, make it a little wider, so that you guys can see not only the numeric side of things, but the graph side of things too. So don't get too caught up on the way that this graph looks, because it's going to look a little different just depending on, you know, all the different variables that are actually inside of this numeric graph. So let's compare it, right? So this is what it looks like from stock factory. So, you know, 10 degrees, 6.5 degrees, relatively low in this area, which is where you're going to sweep. You're going to sweep from about 13% air charge up through here as you come through the RPMs. It's going to sweep in a downward motion and to the right. So this is the stock ECU. It should really never see this area. If you're at 1,000 RPMs and you've got 90% air charge, there's an issue. But it will dip into some of these. And if you got a, you know, if it's 6 degrees here and 3 degrees here, it's probably going to meet in the middle somewhere about 4 degrees, 4.5 degrees. So what I'm going to do is show you what Diablo does, and this is theirs. So it's a pretty drastic jump. It's not a huge amount, but if you look at the graph, you can kind of see better. It's quite a bit of timing. I mean, you go from -1 degrees of timing to 10 degrees of timing. It's not super bad. I kind of go into the halfway mark. I run about 6 degrees of timing, so I'll run like 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 or 8, and then bleed it on in a little bit, just because you're only going to be in this, if you're going wide open throttle, you're only going to be in this little area for a split second before it switches graphs on you. So go back and compare it again so you guys can see the jump. It's pretty prevalent. Now I am eventually going to do a full video on timing itself, like how to create a timetable and tuning these dodges for timing. So you got your base, and then I told you it was only going to be in the base spark table for a moment until it gets to its voltage for the wide open throttle table, and this is where this comes into play. So this is your stock table right here. Again, I'll take all this negative timing out and whatever, but you'll come through probably right around in here, and then you'll sweep downwards and then to the right as it starts to even out the percentage of air charge. So this is the stock one, and then this is the Diablo tune. So same, 9 degrees to 10 degrees, all the way up to 16. They don't really touch anything up top, which is fine. You don't really have to. Up here, it kind of dips a little bit, and that's because this is probably where you're making your most torque, which is where you're going to reach, where you're going to see the most spark knock. The peak torque is usually when the engine's under the most load, and that's when things start to break. So as you'll see, as it dips down a little bit, and that's completely normal. There's nothing wrong with that. I'll have to overlay my timing table against this here in a little while and kind of show you guys the difference. But there you go. Let's just do it one more time. That's stock, and then that's the Diablo. You're definitely going to feel this. You're going to pick up power. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's all going to be below the curve on the dyno graph. So as a dyno graph grows and it comes up and peaks, this is where you're gonna your peak curve of power is going to be. Most of this that you're seeing on this screen recorder is going to be below the curve, which is good because that's your low end torque and power, and it's going to feel good. They don't really touch anything like the barometric pressures or the IATs or ECTs, things that I mess with when I tune. And that just kind of comes into play with your, your environment. So if super hot, it's going to pull timing depending on how hot the intake air charges are, and then barometric pressure depending on where you are in altitude. Sea level or below sea level or above sea level, it'll pull timing for whatever the barometric pressures are, which is not a bad thing to have. For me, I kind of cancel it all out. I'm at sea level or below sea level, and if I do get above sea level, it's not a whole lot to make changes. I'll come in here and mess with the the MBT, the minimum spark, which throttle tip-in, which is something that they've messed with, which is good. So throttle tip-in is pretty much your ECU expecting spark knock right off the rip. So as soon as you hit the throttle, it's expecting a charge of air and fuel and spark, so it's going to go ahead and say, hey, we're thinking that there might be some pre-ignition, so let's go ahead and pull 2 or 3 degrees of timing. Me, I do the same thing they do, and I zero that out, because if it's going to spark, it's going to spark. There's no need to think that it's going to spark. So the tip in or burst knock for GM guys, it's kind of the same thing. I just go ahead and zero it out. I don't want to pull timing when timing doesn't need to get pulled, you know what I mean? Knock sensors, they don't do anything with knock sensors. Torque, they don't really do much. Oh, here you go. So some friction. What they're probably going to do is up here in these higher RPMs, they're probably going to zero this out. And that's just saying that anything over, let's just say 3,700 RPM, at this amount of torque, let's pull no torque, and let's see what they. Yep. So they do exactly the same thing. So it's not a bad tune. It's just not what I would run. And they, oh, here you go. So this is all torque management stuff. This is where everybody has fun. They break on. So the stock is, 967 foot-pounds. With the Diablo, they zero that out, meaning that there's not going to be any type of torque loss. As soon as you hit the brake, and if you want to do a burnout, this is how you do it. You come in here and you zero this out and say, I want all the torques, and same with brake off. And then these are torque adapts, pretty much the same thing. They probably max these out. So what is this? Max is, well, it's foot-pounds, 967, so yep, they pretty much max it. It might as well be maxed out, which is fine. I do the same thing, no issues with that. Pretty much what that's saying is, hey, I want all this torque, give me the torque, and don't interfere, and that's what's happening here. Driver demand, they don't do anything with pedal watt. I do. I'll change it to anywhere between 3.0 to 2.8, just kind of depends what the driver wants. Sometimes 3.8 or 2.8 is too much, so I'll bring it back up to 3. And then what they'll do is, yeah, so this is your stock curve, and then they just ramp it up pretty good. Those are things that you're going to feel. Pretty much the same thing that a pedal commander does, is it'll come in here and ramp the power versus request. That is pretty much it for the engine. Let's see if they do anything for trans. I don't think they do. No, 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 nope, nope. And then fuel system, then I can touch anything. Fuel system, systems. All right, here you go. So this is gonna be like your fans. For like if you got a 180 degree thermostat, this is where they change things. So right here, this is aftermarket, this is stock. Yeah, so they pull quite a bit. They want to cool this thing down, which I agree 100%, because these things run so hot. Now you look 226, that's just ridiculous before the high speed fan is on. That's just crazy. AC, they don't really touch anything. All-wheel drive, it's disabled because this is a two-wheel drive vehicle, mine, versus Steve's all-wheel drive vehicle. So it's enabled, and then you got communication. So that's all fine and dandy, and that's all cool. Let's see what the speedo is. The limit is 166. So with the Diablo, you should be able to hit 166. You got the gearing for it. I brought my car up to 177 up in on the Nürburgring, which was pretty cool. So now that we saw that, let's go ahead and go to file. I want to close file now, and then I want to open file from let's see, where is the Diablo file? There we go, Diablo tunes, and then open the Steve's tune, and then compare it to Chris's tune, because this is where it gets interesting. So this is an update, and they did change some things around, and what I'm thinking happened was they saw the big thing, they made some improvements for sure. As you can see, not much changed in here. We already knew that. max delta, don't worry about that. That's just throttle, electric throttle. They kind of changed some things with that. Probably, that's weird. They did disable his cam phaser. I don't know why they would do that. It's a stock cam. That's really bizarre. I don't know. The engineers know. They did it for a reason. Let's see. So no, they did some stuff for cold warm up. Pretty much they added some fuel. Probably, yeah. They added some fuel at like 19 degrees. They added some fuel to 41 degrees, which is fine. No issues with that. Ooh, here we go. They did in fact change the air-fuel ratio a little bit. So it looks like they probably, let me go back to that. Looks like they probably leaned it out a little bit. No, they fattened it up. Yeah, they fattened it up, which made it more rich. Cut off. So in this new, they raised it up to 66, and they did the park neutral up to 6,000 as well. So same things I would do. Nothing gonna be on that. Trans burn. What did they change here? I wouldn't mess with that, but they did. No big deal. Part throttle. Let's see how much different the part throttle is. I know the answer already. It's pretty different. So if you look, they kind of went back to the previous time. I don't know if they saw too much spark knock up in these areas, which is possible. And then they're like, hey, let's just be safe and go ahead and pull that timing back out. There's still timing there. It's just not as drastic as it was in the original 2016 tune. Now, this could be a completely different tune-up altogether. Most of these things in here are just going to be like a half a degree off, and I think that just might be from model year differences. So watt, everybody likes a little wide open throttle, baby. Yeah, see, the only changes are in here, and it's like half a degree, 1 degree, and I think that just might be model differences. But the curve itself, the power area, which is going to be from right around here, sweeping downwards and to the right, is all the same. Nothing has changed, which is completely fine. So we'll go through that. All this is going to be the same. It's only different because of model year. I'll show you that. See, it's like a half degree off, nothing different. I don't know, maybe Mopar decided to do something. They still haven't touched anything with the barometric pressures, and they did mess with the BMT. But again, it's half a degree, nothing crazy. So minimum spark, throttle tip-in is going to be the same. Did they do anything with retard knock sensors? No. Torque module? No. Loss is going to be a little different. Let's see what they did. Oh, they added. I wonder why they did that. I still keep it as 0. I zero that out. They did mess with the pedal request, which is going to be, you know, a little different of a pedal feel, which is good. Throttle response is going to be definitely better in the second one. And then expected pedal, which is the same thing in a sense. They're pretty much just ramping it in smoothly. And then I seriously doubt anything with transmission. Yeah, they don't even give you the option in this one. Probably because I didn't download the transmission TCM file, which is fine. System, nothing's changed, all the same except for all-wheel drive. And then let's see what the speedo is. Speedo is all the same. So as you can tell, it's all the same. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to pull out my file. So I'm going to close this compare file and open my tune that I have in my car. So Meg's charger, charger more timing. I just quick named it. Usually I'll do something different, kind of give it all the mods and I do my own little thing, whatever. So let's look at engine. There's going to be quite a few different things that I do in this one. So remind you, blue is the 93 octane, red is going to be the my tune. a custom tune for my area, specific for my car, because my car likes specific things. Your car might like different things even in the same area. So that's kind of the thing with tuning. Now, I went ahead and gone through my VE tables because I am going to switch to speed density eventually, and kind of give you an idea of what a VE table should look like. This is what one looks like stock. This is what mine looks like 1,000 times better. It's way more smooth. This is going to run very, very good compared to this one. It's probably not going to run at all. It's probably going to die pretty quickly. Yeah, all them rocks and mountains, no bueno. So that's different. My adaption, I've taken the adaption off, so you guys know you gotta pull the fuse and get it to stop adapting. All you gotta do is come in here and then enable or disable. I disable with my tune. Charge motion, variable cam. I do things different with the cams. This is gonna be your stock cam separation, but your stock angles, right? I come in and I bring the torque in closer together and all through the range. So as you can tell, my angles are a little bit different than the stock, or even not just the stock, but the Diablo ones as well. Because I guarantee you, well, I know we just looked over it, that Diablo doesn't do anything with cam. Neural network's all going to be the same. Exhaust is going to be the same. Fuel is going to be different. My injectors control is a little different. I want to give me a little bit more fuel. So I have my injector pulse width versus fuel mass tuned. So you can see the differences. It's not a whole lot. It's like 10%. Same for here and here. Oxygen sensors, it's all the same. Power enrichment's going to be different. This is going to be the watt threshold for the stock ECU, and then this is the watt stock, or the watt threshold for me. My VVS is, maxed out, and then my RPM is maxed out. So that's going to be different. My fuel enrichment is going to be a little bit different. I want a little bit more fuel right off the hit, so I don't run in any type of spark knock. And then my RPM limits are going to be a little different. 6,200 compared to 6,000, or 6,600 depending on what it is. 6,600. I'm just not turning the car up to 6,600. I don't need to. And then for the bangs and pops, I have my ECT maxed out. Lean transit's going to be about the same. My spark is going to be different. I like to do things differently with my spark. I like to smooth everything out. So this is the stock, or not the stock, this is the 93 octane spark table, and then this is my spark table. You can see there's a dip down here on the back side, and that's because I'm commanding negative spark so that I can get the backfires and bangs. But my actual timing curve is much smoother. So this is just a base. It's 5 to 6 to 7. It kind of smooths its way out compared to theirs, which could be smoothed out if I just added some numbers here, which is fine. I'm not doing it. And then my watt is going to be a little bit more aggressive than theirs. This is theirs, and then this is mine. It seems like a drastic change, but it's really not that much. I mean, a couple degrees here, and then a couple degrees up top. The only thing that we kind of match on is right here at 38 or 3,000 RPM all the way down is pretty similar. There's a few numbers here and there that I had added in there. And then this is what I was talking about, my barometric air pressure. Theirs is going to be pulling timing, some up to 7-8 degrees. I'm pulling no time because I'm at sea level. And then my intake air temps, they're going to be pulling some timing. I'm not going to be pulling much timing up until, we're 70% bare charge. ECTs, same thing. There's mine, and my offset's going to be a little different because I'm commanding some bing, bangs, and pops. And then minimum spark table, obviously our tip-in is going to be the same. So 0 and 0. And then where I'm at here is going to be hot spark, blah, blah, blah. Minimum spark's going to be the same. So let's look into retard and knock sensors. I do have my sensitivity taken out a little bit, about 10%. I have a really noisy exhaust, and these things have very, very sensitive knock sensors from the get-go. So go ahead and make those changes. And then here's the, you'll see the difference between my watt pedal and their watt pedal. So mine's commanded at 3% or 3 volts, and then theirs is 3.5. And then the power request, pedal request, same thing. Mine comes in, mine ramps in pretty heavy because I want that snap of the throttle pretty much. And then the expected pedal, I don't really mess with the expected pedal. I just haven't, and it's not really something my go-to is. So let's look at the trans. Nothing's going to be done to the trans. Don't even look at it. Wow, my boy is not happy. Let's go in general. Fans. My fans are going to be a lot cooler than theirs because I have 180 degrees thermostat, so my low comes on at 181 compared to their 199, and their high speed comes on at 208 compared to my 190. Speedo, oh wait, let me go back to systems, AC, all-wheel drive, communication, nothing. Speedo, their limit's 160, oh, theirs is 166, mine's 160. It was like 180, but we kind of topped out the car at 177, and I was like, yeah, we don't need to take this car any faster. That thing is fast enough. So guys, there you can see the difference between a stock ECU, a 93 octane, and then a drop top tune. Pretty basic stuff. Now, when you start getting to canned cars, boosted cars, a lot more things are going to be different within the actual tune itself. So I really hope you guys enjoyed these comparison videos. It's something that I've been wanting to do for a while. Kind of want to clear the air on why it's not that I dislike canned tunes, it's just that you could do better for cheaper. You know what I mean? You can spend $299 on MBVI2 and then get it tuned remotely, or you can buy, a $600, $700 Diablo tuner and get, your 93 octane tune, which is fine and it does the job. I'm definitely not saying it doesn't do what it says it does, because it does. It's just that custom tunes are always better because you have so many variables that come into play. Like I said, you got altitude, temperatures, how much dust is in the air, moisture levels, all these things start playing into effect on how your ECU controls your car and how your car runs. So tuning is just optimizing and being very specific for that car at that location and that particular time. And it will change depending on the day. That's why when you see drag racers, they're doing data logs. They get some qualifying runs, they do a data log, and then they make changes before they start going in the rounds. That's what happens. Everything changes, the track temperature, everything. Everything is a variable on what makes your car run the best at that particular moment, at that particular place. So, guys, if you liked the video, please go ahead and go down below, give me a like, and comment down, like, what would you want to see next, and what do you think about the comparison video? Do you think that I'm kind of not giving Diablo enough credit? Do you think that I'm giving myself too much credit, because obviously I think my tunes are going to make more power? Would you like to see a dyno comparison? Like, all these things, give me some ideas down in the comments below, because I'm pretty interested on seeing. I do have a local dyno that I can rent. It's just that I can't particularly do it right now due to COVID and all these other different variables. But as always, guys, thanks for watching, and check you later.